Are you often on edge? Do you struggle with sleeping? Are you more irritable and less productive? Do you find it exhausting just to get through your day? Hi, this is Sara Russell. I'm your microdose host, here with your weekly mood boost and tools for transformation. And in today's episode, I'll be talking about 3 sneaky things that mess with your mental energy. Some mornings I wake up with a quieter mind than others. I'm clear, I'm creative, I'm inspired, I'm motivated, and I know how I want to schedule my day. Other days, though, it feels like I forgot to plug myself in to recharge overnight, and I wake up irritated or distracted or confused or unfocused. And I'm willing to have down days, bad days, sad days, unproductive days. But if y'all have been listening to this podcast, you know I have a philosophy, a cosmology, where I don't think there's enough time for all the enjoying of this world that I want to do, for all of the hedonistic exploration that I know this precious vessel is capable of. So I'm not willing to waste my time on things that drain my energy. And there are the obvious things that drain us of our physical energy: having a bad night's sleep, a poor quality diet, general stresses in our lives. And then there are also the obvious things that drain us of our mental energy. For instance, climate change or systemic oppression, or these digital devices that we're walking around with that keep us chained to a loop of comparison and competition and feeling like we need to be constantly plugged in. So those are the obvious ones. But there are also sneaky things that slowly but surely drip out your life force energy. And one of those things is clutter. Studies have shown that if you perceive your space to be cluttered, you have higher levels of cortisol in your body than if you perceive your space to be well organized and restful. In other words, more mess equals more stress. A cluttered space places a higher cognitive load on your brain because it's trying to make order out of all of the chaos. You can even suffer from memory issues if your space is consistently in a state of turmoil because your brain gets overloaded trying to make sense of it all. So here's a tip. Reset the room a la James Clear. And James Clear talks about this in his book, Atomic Habits, and he credits Oswald Knuckles for this particular tip, where you're priming your environment. And the example that Knuckles and James Clear give is this idea of, like, let's say you just watch TV, you're going to put the remote back in its spot. You're going to put the pillows back in its place. You're going to fold up the blanket and put it back on the couch in a neat and tidy way. That way, the next time you enter the room, it's already primed for what you need to do. So how this applies to me is I know I like to write first thing in the morning before I'm checking my phone, before I'm checking my schedule, because I like to make sure it's my voice in my head first thing in the morning if I'm going to be creative. That means I need to clear my space. I need to clear my table the night before. That means putting away any bills that I collected from the mailbox, putting my keys back in their place, cleaning up any crusty Mudwater mugs that have been left over from the day before, so that my laptop is front and center next to the crystal that my mom gave me. So it's this beautiful space that's all ready for me to sit down and be creative. So notice I said that I cleaned my table. I didn't say I cleaned my entire living room or workspace. You don't have to clean your entire house. You just have to pick one area that if you tidied it, if you got rid of the clutter, it would give you a little bit of peace of mind from having fewer piles of pandemonium. Something else that quietly but insistently drains you of your mental energy is your self-talk. And I don't mean like that video of that cute little girl where she's in front of the mirror and she's like, "You're amazing. I love you. You're beautiful." Do that as much as you want. I'm talking about that negative inner critic that's like this constant static running in the background of your mind. Like when your laptop starts to slow down and it's because there are too many programs running and you didn't even know they were running in the background, but now everything is starting to crash or stick or get buggy. Yeah, that's like what your heavy, like, inner critic thoughts are like. So it's the static that's running in the background. It's running so consistently and so quietly that you're not even tracking it, which means because you're not super aware of it, you're not stopping it. You're letting it just continue. But every single time it fills you with a little bit of self-doubt, this idea of like, am I doing it right? Am I not good enough? Am I the one for the job? Is somebody doing it better than I am, or faster than I am, or more creative than I am in some way? It's this little bit of distraction, and it's a little bit like when somebody taps you on the shoulder where you go, what was that? and you're not focused on the task at hand anymore. So all of this energy that could be going towards whatever you wanted to be focused on keeps getting pulled off your center. And that little bit of distraction is a drain. Now, you don't need to go from negative self-talk to positive self-talk. That's too big of a move to go from thinking that you have to being full of self-doubt to all of a sudden thinking you're infallible and there's nothing wrong with you. That's way too big of a jump. So what I'm actually going to suggest you do is just get to neutral. And one of the ways you get to neutral is by catching yourself in the middle of a doubt-filled thought or shame-filled thought or a blame-filled thought, something that's dragging your energy down in some way, and interrupting it, which means you actually need to focus on that static so that you can start hearing it so you can turn it off. It's a little bit like checking to see if the stove was left on. You wouldn't go to check and see if the stove was left on and go, oh yeah, the burner's still on, and then walk away. You go, oh, the burner's on, and you turn it off, and you would want to keep it off until you actually needed to use it for something. So the way you do this is you're going to interrupt the thought in whatever way works for you. So many of us have this idealism of like, oh, if the thought popped up, it must be important, or I should probably problem solve this or fix this, or what if I forget to think about this? Like, tell me truly, if it's a thought that's running constantly that keeps reasserting itself, do you really think you're going to forget it? It's going to come back. The trick isn't like you're going to get rid of it and it's never going to come back. Like, the trick is actually making it stop so that it stays away. Like, that's what we actually want. So that means turn on your favorite song, do a little dance in the kitchen, read an article, step outside to get your face in the sun, whatever it is you need to do to interrupt the thought that's draining you of your energy. And if you want more support around all of this, you can listen to the microdose episode 77, How to Quiet Your Inner Critic, where I talk about this more in depth. The third thing that is a sneaky energy suck is your comfort zone. And your comfort zone can both calm you and confine you. So deciding when it's time to step out of your comfort zone is about knowing when it's time to recharge or when it's time to charge ahead. We're designed to conserve energy, so we go into autopilot. We create habituated default behaviors because that biologically is very smart as a way to conserve energy. And conserving energy can be a really great thing. Like, that's what this whole episode is about, right? Like, how we can have more energy rather than less energy. And our comfort zone contributes to our need for certainty, safety, stability, predictability, real human needs that help us avoid pain and panic and stress. But we can also get stuck in a rut where we stop challenging ourselves. And I have to tell you, the Taurus in me is quite guilty of this. I like to be cozy. So like every now and then I have to intentionally make myself uncomfortable in order to grow. Now, we're designed to keep ourselves safe, which means staying solidly in the realm of the known, which can start to make us feel bored and discontent and demotivated. We start to sink into this kind of ennui without variety. And as much as we need certainty, we also crave excitement and change. Variety stimulates us. It energizes us. It makes us feel alive. So this idea that being comfortable would somehow conserve your energy starts to turn on itself. It feels like the yin and yang, where the shady side becomes the sunny side of the hill. By resting too much, you actually start to lose energy, and you actually need to push yourself in order to get a little bit of surge, a little bit of motivation, that vitality, that chi, that life force. So this is about challenging yourself a little bit. And the way you can do that is by setting some stretch goals. Read or write more, develop a new hobby or skill, or set small, achievable, actionable steps for a goal you have for yourself. Hopefully these tips will help you stop leaking your vitality all over the place. And here's a parting thought from Bill Bryson. You may not feel outstandingly robust, but if you are an average-sized adult, you will contain within your modest frame no less than 7 by 10 to the 18th joules of potential energy, enough to explode with the force of 30 very large hydrogen bombs, assuming you know how to liberate it and really wish to make a point. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Also, check out trendswithbenefits.com for all of our written content, as well as to sign up for our weekly newsletter. If you would like some relationship support, any kind of relationship, any kind of support, you can send a voice memo or an email to podcast@mudwtr.com, where I would be happy to help you out in any way that I can. Also, as a special treat for all of my listeners, y'all know you get Boost 25. It's a discount code, Boost 25, for 25% off your first order of Mushroom Boost, which is Mudwater's latest product. It contains a blend of 8 different mushrooms for focus, vitality, immunity, relaxation. It'll help you with what drains you. I told you I've been putting it in my pumpkin bread, and I snuck it into my matcha latte this morning as well. Share it with a friend. Spread the love. Thank you so much for listening. Here's wishing you the knowing you need to liberate your energy.